All right, look. The mythical, legendary, and hard to freaking find Mitsubishi Eclipse GSX 2G is one of my favorite Japanese cars ever made. I just love the philosophy of the Mitsubishi Eclipse GSX with all-wheel drive, 4G63 4-cylinder turbo, lightweight, great handling, and just good driver feel. But that's also kind of the downfall of this car. In my opinion, it is one of Mitsubishi's biggest failures to let this car go. I see the GSX as the girl that got away. In my opinion, the Beta 2-door Evo really could have been something to really take on the behemoths of the car world. But instead, we got a fish. So is my teenage dream car everything that I ever wanted? Let's go for a drive and find out. Well, I just drove a 2G GST, and this gentleman was kind enough to be like, hey, I got the real good one, the GSX. Can you introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name's RJ, and this is my 99 GSX.
The 99, like the one that so many people want. The GSX, main difference, it's all-wheel drive. Is the motor really any different from the GST?
No, 100% the exact same thing. All that's different is they threw a transfer case on it and made it all-wheel drive. Yeah, it's got an InGen intake and then just a Megan Racing Catalyst downpipe and a Pexi N1 catbacks.
It feels like the car I imagined it felt like, right?
Yeah, when I got it, it had the stock downpipe on it, and I've had quite a few of these, but I never got to feel it in like, you know, true stock form. But after just adding like a downpipe and stuff, it made it, you know, quite a bit more peppy. A lot of people got into these from the Fast and the Furious, and that definitely was part of it. But I remember going to a car show when I was super young with my dad and seeing a few like second-gen DSMs that were modified. And I took pictures of them, and I still have the photos somewhere, but that was like what got me hooked on these things. And then, yeah.
Not to mention like all the wild body kits people had for these things.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Insane. The big double-decker spoilers and everything. I just think it's cool this thing just was always a blank canvas for so many people. But that's its downfall as well. You know, you just never really saw them again for the most part. I mean, the GSX, like you said, if you find one, you have to scoop it almost instantly if you actually want one.
Yeah, exactly.
That's awesome.
With the AC on, like, this thing is such a pooch. Like, just driving around, you can feel it, like, loading it down quite a bit.
Its life.
Yeah, it's not the greatest thing in the world. But yeah, it was funny, too, because, like, I remember you made a video, like, a year ago or so, looking for, like, certain cars that were super oddball and, like, emailing or whatever if you had one. So I emailed you, and I was like, hey, man, I work at FI, and, like, you know, maybe if you're ever around, like, it'd be a perfect opportunity. And then all of a sudden, last week, Anna posted that you're coming. I'm like, no shit.
Yeah, it worked out. Because this car in particular was always on my mind because I knew how nice it was. It has a nice little rumble to it too. It doesn't have a lot of rasp, like gross raspness to it.
It's weird too because like the car outside to me sounds quite a bit different than the inside like sound would kind of make you think, I guess. Until 92 they had 6 bolts in it.
Okay.
And then halfway through 92 they switched to a 7 bolt. And then the like late 97s, early 98s, and the 99s had a different thrust bearing setup. So they're a lot less prone to any of the crank lock stuff that's talked about online. Yeah. But even that's kind of a myth in itself. Yeah, and a lot of it too comes from having like a heavy duty pressure plate on it where it's putting a lot of pressure against the thrust bearings.
I actually drove an Evo 3 recently. And the Evo 3 uses pretty much the same engine as this. And what's really funny is when you're in the Evo, you're like, oh yeah, this is totally an Evo. But it doesn't really say, oh yeah, this is totally the same motor from the Eclipse or anything. But this, I just love how low you are, how you sit in it. I like the visibility's pretty good. I love the freaking wing on the back. I've always loved the shape of these cars and how they looked. And I was always like a Mitsubishi guy over like a Honda guy and everything back in the day.
So this car is actually not tuned at all, but my wife's Evo, we got tuned down there, and Devin and their whole crew was super accommodating, and they did an amazing job. So yeah, definitely was happy to see that boost and got that 6-second
through an
4-cylinder all-wheel drive H pattern.
I have to say though, it's like really peppy. Like it comes on. the turbo comes right on.
The stock T25 in these things is a baby, and like if you want to make any decent power, you have to switch to something like the stock Evo 316G or something like that. But it's honestly not bad just for putting around town and stuff like that.
And the leather seats are actually pretty comfy. I think it's pretty comfortable.
Yeah, they're definitely not bad. Like considering that it's a 23-year-old car, like it's comfy and it drives well.
Oh yeah. Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah, like the shifter, it's got a B&M short throw shifter in it, which is a discontinued part. It's been discontinued for like 12 years, but it was one of those things that it's the best one that's ever really been made for these, aside from like, you know, a race car shifter kind of thing.
I love also the hood bulge. I don't know what it is about it, but I've always liked it.
One of my favorite things about driving this car too is looking in the rearview mirror and seeing the big spoiler light in the back. Like, it just looks so good.
All right, here we go. I love that blow off, dude.
Yeah, it's just a stock Evo 9 blow off valve. It fits right in the like factory spot, but it actually holds boost. The factory 2G one is plastic, so it doesn't like actually
really?
Yeah, it starts to leak at like 10 or 11 pounds, which is like the factory boost levels. Yeah, they're known for being pretty crappy.
Yeah, that comes on just like that. It is very linear though. Like once you get in there, it's like, this is your torque band. This is it.
Yeah, it makes power till like $5,000 or something like that, and then you can definitely feel it fall off. But for just like, you know, driving around town and stuff like that, it's fun enough to at least, you know, have a good time a little bit. It's got Tane Flex Z coilovers on it. That was like one of the 2 things that was actually done to the car when I bought it, but they honestly ride pretty well. Like, I'm happy with them.
Yeah, we're on a pretty rough road right now. It's not bad.
It's nice too with like the wheel and tire setup. It's like flush fitment, but I don't want to ruin the fenders on this car because it's just a super clean body. But
it's so nice. Like, it's insane.
It's nice to not like rub going over big bumps like that too. On E85 with cams.
Oh, wow.
And made never was dyno tuned, it was remote tuned, but it was somewhere in, you know, ballpark of 400 to 450, and that was a super fun setup. But that's about as far as you can really go on like stock bottom end, stock you know, drivetrain and stuff like that without really having to worry about anything. Yeah, the biggest like weak points are, I believe, third gear. Like once you start to make just too much torque, it'll actually like shear the teeth off of it.
Oh, wow.
And then rear axles are another common one when you're like actually launching the car. That's kind of the first weak spot.
Did you ever own a Talon?
Yeah, actually I had, my second car was a 98 TSI all-wheel drive. I had that in high school, and then I think, yeah, that's the only Talon that I actually had, but then I've had a 97 GSX, a 98 GSX.
Oh, wow.
And then this 99 GSX, so.
No, it's just really interesting how during that time, you know, with the Plymouth Laser, the Talon, all that stuff, it's just a really cool era with Mitsubishi and Dodge.
It's kind of a weird car too, because it doesn't really fit in with like the JDM stuff, because it's not a JDM car. It's made in Illinois, but it's got a Mitsubishi engine in it, like Chrysler stuff here and there, and it shares so many parts with like other Chrysler parts, like, or other Chrysler cars, like the Dodge Avenger has like the same dash and stuff like that.
I forgot about
Door
that.
panels are pretty close to the same in those, and then yeah, the Talon, same car. So yeah, second gear is definitely the most fun with the stock turbo setup on it, and you know, the third gear starts to become a little tall, and the little turbo doesn't really make enough power to have fun in it.
I don't know why I'm here.
One thing that's super nice too with the like the second gen DSM and the Evo 3 actually is a lot of the Evo 3 stuff is a solid like OEM plus upgrade to these that bolts directly on, because the engine is the same thing pretty much.
Oh wow. Yeah.
So the turbo on those actually will make a pretty good amount of power. The stock Evo 3 turbo will make like 350, 375 on like ethanol, which I've had that set up in one of my DSMs, and that's probably the most fun for like a street driven car. Just because you've got factory power levels, or factory like boost range in, you know, a higher powered setup. So
I've always loved these things, and I'm glad that it's like not a don't meet your heroes kind of thing. You know,
yeah, for
I've
sure.
never gotten to drive the GSX. I've always wanted to. This is like 10 years of me looking for a clean one, so you are the man for just letting me drive it. A very nice casual conversation while we do it. It's funny because like when you're in throttle, it does have confidence. It's not like this is a really old car. Like,
Yeah.
it's just sketchy. It's of a bygone era. Like, it was cool when you're young. You know what I mean? I still think they're cool.
Yeah,
I still
for
think it's a
sure.
great car.
I mean, I think the biggest takeaway is just take care of anything that you have and it'll last. And I think this is kind of a proven example of that.
Like you said, the leather seats were covered up by these like wool covers or something like that.
Yeah, it was like sheepskin or something like that, but they preserved the seats like perfectly. I've never seen a set of 99 black leather seats that were nicer.
I literally opened the door and I was dumbfounded. I was like, I'm sorry, what? Dude, thank you so much for letting me drive it.
Absolutely.
I've had an amazing time. And on that note, check out wow, nice job, David. Check out Vivid Industries. They're great people, really awesome guys. And at the same time, I upload on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Sundays. See you guys next time. Take it easy. Have a wonderful day. Goodbye.